What's up again, guys? Yo, it's me, Dovahkiin, and welcome back to my Anno 2205 miniseries. And before we begin, be sure to hit on the subscribe button for more great videos. Alright. In the last episode, I featured Mare Relictum, and its project for ornamentals. Finishing that sector also concluded the game's main quest, the Lunar Licensing Program, which means that I can freely expand my corporation by acquiring other sectors. But instead, I focused on unlocking all the features of the Orbital Station first, which, as you saw in the intro, the actual trailer of this premium DLC, will give you additional technologies to advance your corporation. Once you have completed your first trifecta of sectors, a temperate, an Arctic, and a lunar sector, Wildwater Bay, Akia Flows, and Mare Relictum in my case, that's the best time to dabble with the Orbit DLC. Cause you can now supply the 3 astronaut types needed by the orbital station, namely, biologists from the temperates, physicists from the Arctic, and engineers from the Moon. And as I've featured in my previous vids, I have 2 launch pads, or biology institutes, in Wildwater Bay. 1 physics institute in Akia Flows, and 1 engineering institute in Mare Relictum. However, take note, at some point in time, you will need 2 launch pads each, in the Arctic, and on the Moon. But don't worry, once you've unlocked what needs to be unlocked by those extra launch pads, you can safely demolish them afterwards. And speaking of unlockables, this is what I'm talking about, the Technology Nexus. There are 2 types of unlockables here. Station expansions, which I've bordered in green and will refer to as columns. And the technologies themselves, the ones that give production bonuses and other effects, which I've outlined in blue, and will denote as industries. Cause that's what they actually are. Groups of technologies for agriculture, biotech, electronics, energy, and heavy industry. Your primary goal should be building your orbital station to its full potential, by unlocking all columns first. Which include workshop kits, support structures, namely, module and link kits, or connectors, and shield radius bonuses. By the way, station expansions have different build times, and the longest timer runs for 2 hours. But don't fret, just put on some weight on the plus key on your numpad, to speed up the game. Once you've unlocked them all, you can freely pick the text that you want. Now let me illustrate how this process is done. First, focus on 1 industry, doesn't matter which one, to unlock the 2 columns beside it. And you don't need to activate them all, just the ones adjacent and connected to each station expansion. Once the columns have been unlocked, they stay unlocked. Then, deactivate that industry, and focus on another one, to unlock another pair of columns. Now that you have only 1 column remaining, again, just deactivate the current industry, and focus on another, to unlock the last one. So in truth, you only have to play around with 3 industries to unlock all the columns. Simple, right? Okay. So here's my actual Technology Nexus. Take note, you can only have a maximum of 12 workshop kits, so you cannot specialize in all industries. When I say specialize, it means activating the highest tech tier, by using up 5 workshops for a particular industry. Having 1 workshop in a specific industry unlocks the smallest ring, or the bottom tier tech, and so forth, until you reach the biggest ring, the top tier, with 5 workshops. And apparently in my case, I chose to specialize in agriculture with 5 workshops. Partial focuses on biotech with 3 workshops, and energy with 2. and just single workshops for electronics and heavy industry. Specializing in agriculture is a no-brainer, cause the consumer goods under this industry comprise the largest demand of your population, namely, organic food, vitamin drinks, and luxury food. And the farms that provide the materials to create these consumer goods take up a lot of real estate. So obviously, you're gonna save a ton of space and resources via decreasing consumption or boosting production. Notable techs are as follows. Dietary supplement, the top-tier tech, and in my opinion is a must-have, which reduces consumption of all agricultural goods by 15%. Individual crop tracking, which boosts production by 10%. The bottom-tier tech, mutation optimizer, which has the same effect as individual crop tracking. And for better profit when selling goods to the global market, agricultural wholesale deal, which improves trading prices by 50%. Biotech goods, on the other hand, have the second largest demand, namely, rejuvenators, bioenhancers, and most especially, neuroimplants. The reason why I had to use 3 workshops is to get DNA recombineering, which boosts biotech productivity by 10%. Same as the bottom-tier tech, personalized medicine. And for 50% better trade prices, biotech wholesale deal as well. For energy, which I have 2 workshops on, besides the bottom tier, accumulator overload, which increases productivity by 10%, I've also chosen the orbital laser military tech, which does significantly more damage to enemies in crisis sectors than the ordinary missile barrage. This ability looks spectacular as well. And lastly, the 2 bottom-tier techs from electronics and heavy industry. Self-testing hardware and mineral cultivation, which boosts productivity by 10% in their respective industries. Again, those are the notable techs, and the other activated ones that I didn't mention are just there because I have lots of expertise points to spare. Speaking of which, I'm sure you're wondering about what the hell is expertise. So let's finally open up my orbital station. Expertise is the currency or the resource of the Orbit DLC, and is used to unlock technologies in the Nexus. To describe it in simple terms, it's like the productivity of your astronauts. It is influenced by providing the optimal temperature to your workshops. The number of astronauts you're sending from your temperate, Arctic and lunar sectors, or simply your workforce. And the amounts of specific goods that they are receiving to conduct their experiments. But as you can see, my orbital station has many alerts, cause I'm not fulfilling most of these requirements. For one, my astronauts or workforce aren't enough. For biologists from the temperate region, yes, I have enough of those. But for physicists and engineers, my deficit is significant. For goods, on the contrary, this is even worse. I have never supplied the needs of my astronauts. However, if you look at one of my workforce and goods lacking workshops, it has a whopping 700% productivity. Thus, still generating substantial amounts of expertise. So, in reality, forget about workforce and goods. Those are all bullshit. The only thing you have to focus on is providing the optimal temperature for each of your workshops. This is done by figuring out what combinations of modules are compatible with specific workshops, and it's actually quite a complex puzzle, which I will not solve in this video. There's an amazing guy in Reddit, named Euregenu, who made a guide on how to build the orbital station without needing supplies. and the link is in the description. The only difference between Eureginu's layout and mine is that I opted to spend one workshop for heavy industry, while his has 2 electronics workshops. So just pause it here if you want to copy my layout instead. And there you go. Once you have concluded the orbital station, which provided you with substantial production bonuses, return to your first trifecta of sectors to balance out your goods, by demolishing facilities that provide too much surplus. 'Cause again, selling your surplus to the global market only becomes practical when you have conquered the stock market, which will give you way better production bonuses than the Technology Nexus of the Orbit DLC. And as I've said in my first episode, that should be the last step, ideally done after you have owned all the sectors in the game. Now, let's end this video with a spectacular drone, or should I say, space drone shot. And that's all there is for now. Thanks for watching. Also, check out other videos from Sabbath Clan Philippines and don't forget to subscribe. See you on my next vid. Peace out, y'all.